Kate, today we have on the podcast Tiffany Counts from Women Who Explore Montana. Oh my gosh, let me just say,
What a nice addition to Montana she is.
Oh my gosh, yes, originally from southern Arizona, but really truly an adventurer at heart. All of her background and what she's done as a kid. And then it's an interesting story about what she was originally going to pursue, but then where her path took her into firefighting.
Yep.
Really, oh my gosh, I learned so much about what firefighters do here. I felt like I was late coming to the game with that one.
I just have a little background because my son's also a wildland firefighter. But it was nice to hear from her perspective and what she's been doing. And yeah.
So your son is a wildland firefighter in Montana?
He was for the last 4 years, and then they're in California now.
Which role was he in?
On the ground, and now he's like engine crew.
Oh, cool.
So you go out in the engine and then go out.
So he's not actually out there fighting the fires.
No,
he's on the.
You are.
He is.
Your engine is. You have the water. You have the backup stuff, but then you still go out and do stuff. And
Holy crap! Does he have to go then live out in the woods until it subsides?
Depends on the fire and where it is. When he was in Montana, they would stay out there and tent. And then in the last couple of years, Montana hasn't had a lot of fires. So then he would get shipped off to different places that did have fires. Tennessee, Arizona. He was just, we're going to go help out.
So you're not, if there's no fires, then you have to go find the fires. Is that essentially what it is?
I don't know about if every state's different, but that's what Montana did.
Okay. We help our states out. We help our other states.
Okay.
Got you. Yeah, because fire season starts when?
I would say, I think it's around when things dry up, which is like July, as soon as it starts getting hot.
Yeah.
And then June is, hopefully we get a lot of rain, which doesn't always happen.
Right, true. Yeah.
And then I think August is usually the worst. It's just so dry in between the last time it's rained and then between fall happens.
As a mother, are you concerned about his safety?
No, because one, I know his ability and I trust where he's at. And if I did, it would make myself crazy.
Yeah.
So with all my sons, I don't worry about them in that way.
Okay.
I trust their ability to do things. Mm-hmm. And my worrying is not going to make any difference if there's an accident or something like that. I could spend my time worrying. And I learned this because I went through worrying things. And then it makes me crazy. Yeah. So it's better for me to say... You got this. Yeah. And the world has your back and the universe is looking out for you. And I can be at peace and not have to worry.
I love that. And I think listening to Tiffany, it makes me realize, she has a family filled with people in her life that have done very risky jobs. And you have to know when you have to shuffle through the shit and say, okay, this is not really something I should be worried about. I trust that the universe has got my back. It has my family's back, and we're all going to be okay in the end. But we got into the discussion of why people do that type of job, and the fact that a lot of times it is a dopamine chaser. And I know for myself, I don't think I could do it, and I don't know how I'd be able to handle coming down from that high. Yeah, I like to be pretty
I do now.
I like to operate on one level. So me seeking something that's adrenaline high, that feels more in my husband's bucket. That's the crap that he likes to do. For me, I'm more of I like to go away from those types of risky behavior. But it is fascinating looking at it from her perspective, and then now where she's at today, where she actually has gone through a healing journey, which you're all going to learn about. Yeah. Coming from a divorce and learning how to connect with those emotions and how she used nature to connect with her emotions and process her emotions, and then what to do about it and to live her life to the fullest potential. And what she's doing now with women in Montana is pretty remarkable. She runs 1,000 women. She's got 1,000 women in her group.
11,000.
Oh, 11. Yes, 11. I'm thinking about the number in my head and seeing it incorrectly.
Yeah.
But 11,000 women in her network, in her organization, that she creates these amazing adventures.
Yes.
Awesome. Seriously, she is a fun person.
And you're going to enjoy listening to her stories.
Yes, yes. So without further ado,
Here's Tiffany Counts.
You're listening to the IWD406 Podcast with your hosts, Julie Wells and Kate McLaughlin.
This podcast episode highlights Tiffany Counts, who serves as a volunteer brand ambassador for Women Who Explore and Dirtbag Gypsies. She aims to provide women with opportunities to experience new activities in a safe and supportive environment, fostering community connections and meeting new people. Her goal is to empower women, sharing the transformative power of nature and overcoming challenges in the mountains. Looking ahead to 2024, Women Who Explore Montana has grown to nearly 11,000 members, with Tiffany recruiting ambassadors who organize the event across the state.
What? Amazing. Wow. Welcome.
That was an accomplishment.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Such a good bio. Really, that impressive, and we're going to get into it.
That was hard to write. It was super hard to write. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know. I'm not that interesting.
Yeah.
Everybody has a story.
Imposter
And
syndrome,
that's a
for
good
sure.
story.
Well, but everybody comes in and says that. Oh, I'm not that. I'm like, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You have a story. You've lived a
Yes.
life. So
Exactly.
we're going to get into it. So welcome, Tiffany. Thank you so much. We've gotten to know each other through Women Who Explore Montana.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that. But let's first backtrack and talk about, you're not originally from Montana, obviously. So what brought you to Montana?
My husband drugged me here. I met my husband. He actually slid into my DMs on Facebook.
Love it.
And I was living in New Mexico at the time. And we just started talking. This is heat of COVID. Like, we started FaceTiming all the time. I was in New Mexico. He was here in Montana. He's been here in the Valley for 20 years. And after doing that for about 6 months, 8 months, I'm going to apply for a job in New Mexico. And I'm like, oh shit, this is serious. Okay, this is happening. This is happening, guys. And so he moved to New Mexico. He did not like it at all.
Okay.
That's a big change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is
big
a
change from here. And now that I live here, I get it. Like, I get
Yeah.
everything's trying to sting you, poke you, kill you. There,
That
no
is
water,
so
no
true.
trees. So he lived there for about a year. And then I ended up applying for a job back here in Montana. And I got a job first. And so we ended up moving back. Yeah. So his stuff just did a whole journey in 2 years back and forth.
Amazing. Oh, okay. So let's go into your upbringing in Arizona. No.
Yep. Southern Arizona is where I was born and raised.
I thought it was New Mexico.
So born and raised Southern Arizona on the border of Mexico, about as
Okay.
far south as you can go.
Okay.
And then I moved to New Mexico to go to college.
Go to
And
college.
yeah.
Yes. So talk to us about being born and raised in Arizona.
It was the desert, and now being away, I appreciate it more, I will say. When I was down there, it was okay, I live in the desert here on the border. It's not that cool of a place compared to other things. Right. But now that I've been away, there is such a beauty in the desert for me still. I just love the colors, the contrast, how harsh it is to live down there. Yes. When I lived on the border, and I definitely missed a golden opportunity to be fluent in Spanish. The hindsight's 2020 now that I'm now that I'm older, I should have really embraced that. Even though I took Spanish in college, I never used it. So I just didn't retain it.
You have to immerse yourself in it to be. And then I actually talked to somebody who was actually from Mexico and was like, yeah, if you don't use it, you yourself lose words.
Even if it's your native language?
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, that's interesting. I didn't realize that, but that's true. You're practicing. You're using that part of the brain. But that's okay. We're moving on. We're moving on. Okay. You were in 4-H, so you're around animals. Mm-hmm. And then you'd mentioned that you were in the rodeo.
I just wanted to ask about the animals in 4-H, because are they the same, sheep and chickens, and same thing that they would
Good
have
question.
here or where I'm from?
Yeah, it's basically the same. So I grew up, my mom's parents own an egg farm. I guess they had chickens and would sell eggs to Safeway. So I grew up on about 40 acres. Not a working ranch by any means, but when we showed interest that we wanted to start raising pigs and chickens for 4-H, of course, my parents go all in and did that, and showed interest, wanted to get horses and start.
Did you get horses?
Yeah, we had horses growing up. Okay. My brother started first. He was older, so I was trailing around trying to learn as much as I could while I was younger until I was old enough to actually compete and do those kinds of things. So we had goats. I tried milking a goat once. It did not go great. We used them mostly for goat tying. We had a mom have some kids. And so my friend and I were like, oh, we should go milk this goat. And it's not a milking goat. So it fought us the whole entire time. We had more dirt than milk in the actual pail.
That's a riot.
So we had pigs, chickens, and then, horses.
Wow. That's amazing, especially in the southern part of Arizona.
Yeah.
So then this is real off topic, random ass question. But then you obviously have to bring in things for them to eat because there's not a lot of grass.
Yeah, it's not like here. Like there's not a lot of grazing. Yeah, it's all hay bales, straw bringing in.
So your ranch is really a high performance working ranch. You're not allowing, when I look around in Montana, they're just grazing. You actually... There's feeding times.
Yeah,
There's
it
a
was
lot more work. That's where I'm trying to go with that.
Chopping off the hay bales, which are pretty heavy.
Yeah. It was constant.
Constant. So you have a really good work ethic, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think it definitely helped me. And of course, my mom and dad had a really good work ethic and instilled that in my brother and I.
So let's move into going into your teenage years. So then since you were riding horses, then did you start competing in rodeos?
Yeah. When I first started riding horses, I did the Western pleasure, the slower paced patterns, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Just because it really gives you, I think, a good foundation for riding. And then, of course, that became boring. So then it's, okay, I want to go fast. And so my brother was already doing the rodeo and the roping and things. So that's when I got into it as well. And just through 4-H and then little local barrel races and things. I did it all the way. From I was about 9 all the way till I graduated high school.
That's amazing.
That's a long time too.
Isn't there rodeo
accomplished
pageants
rodeo.
and things like that? Did you do any of those? Did you do rodeo pageants?
I was
did.
a rodeo princess and a rodeo queen growing up.
I can see it.
I don't think
I was like,
are you just elected?
How does
that work?
Pageant, so
yeah.
it's similar in most places, but like when I did it, you had to ride a horse and there was like the Western pleasure patterns. Like you had to follow a pattern, show your horsemanship. And then you also had to do it's called Queen's Wave, where you go around the arena. Some people go as fast as they can, like I do. And you got to wave as you're hauling ass around the arena.
But keeping your poise and your posture.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes.
I actually got in trouble one time because there used to be a rodeo clown that used to do a raise the roof. And so I was at a rodeo one time as the queen, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna do that going around the arena. He's like, all right, I dare you. So dropped the reins and just went around the arena like this. Yeah, because my horse was so trained.
Wow.
And I got in trouble.
You did get in trouble. What does it mean?
Job.
What does it mean you got in trouble?
Well,
what did they do?
like safety. What if the horse stumbles? I'm like, if the horse stumbles going that fast, it does not matter if I'm holding the reins or not.
So my next question would be, you are truly a rebellious adventurer at heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like
Really?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's walk into, you're going to pursue political justice and criminal justice, political science. Why? Now, what drew you to that?
I don't know. Now, thinking back, I don't really know. Like my dad, I always like to say my dad was in prison for 20 years, but he was Department of Corrections. So he was like in that kind of world. And I wanted to be law enforcement, but I didn't want to do like state patrol or highway patrol or anything like that. And I was like, I can be law enforcement and be in the mountains all day, like in the woods.
Oh, gotcha.
So that was my thought, is I was going to go work for the Forest Service, become an LEO, law enforcement officer, as my career. And so I started going to college for that, and the political science just came with it. It was a little minor.
Okay.
And actually started working for the Forest Service as, it's called a student STEP program. So like you're going to college while you're learning about the agency and the law enforcement aspect of the Forest Service. Okay. And then, I just found out what it's like to be a woman in a male-dominated field.
What was that like?
Not great. And this is a podcast all in of itself, but I was in the program and all the males in the program were out actually writing tickets, being force protection officers, learning on the ground. And I was behind the desk entering everybody's tickets into the program.
Oh, really? That's what they just said.
Yeah.
You're a woman. They didn't even give you the opportunity.
I could type
write.
fast.
Oh,
and so when I called them out on it, I'm like, hey, when am I going to get field time? We got them we question your dedication to this position, and do you really want it? And really got pushback for like wanting the same opportunities.
Wow.
Seriously?
Yeah, and so it just got worse from there. And so that's what I got the degree. I didn't get my master's. I was like one class short of my master's. And that's when I went into dispatch and just washed my hands of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So dispatch was still with the Forest Service, but same group, or
Different
did you
group.
change
And,
it?
yeah, wildland fire. We dispatch LEOs and stuff like that and worked with them, but not actually.
LEOs, sorry.
Law
Lingo.
enforcement officer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'd worked in dispatch before as a student to when I moved to Silver City. And so like I had done that position before seasonally. So when a permanent position came open, that's when I applied and I left the program.
Okay, I want to back up because I think this is fascinating and I really want to talk about this. So the organization, the agency was saying you were not dedicated, but was there, and it was majority of men, was there some sort of physicality piece that they were like, you got to be,
Oh, I passed it.
you passed the physicality piece.
So there is like physical tests that you have to do.
Okay, so you passed that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
met that requirement.
With flying colors. I got an award.
Okay, but still, the pushback was you are not dedicated enough. But okay, was there anything else? Was there anything else given other than that? I'm just curious.
They did not like being questioned.
Okay.
And of course, I was doing their workload for them. It was helping them because I'm entering all their tickets that they would write. And this is a law enforcement officers at the time. I was doing their work for them.
So was this the supervisor saying this, or like the whole
Yeah,
group of
the
people?
supervisor,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
Were there
gotcha.
any women in the field?
There was one law enforcement officer woman on the forest where I was working, and there was a couple in the program, but this was US wide, like that we were in this program.
Have you seen any changes to that? Now,
I don't really pay attention to that law enforcement community, but I would say the land management agencies as a whole, there's small changes, but there's
still the
definitely
same.
there's some problems in certain areas rather than others. It's the pendulum's slowly swinging. There's definitely some grassroots movements, but yeah.
that's so fascinating. Really, truly, when you hear this and you're like, okay, I've met the requirements, I've been trained, I have the degree, and yet, oh, guess what? You've got to do data entry.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wrap my head around that. I guess I'm
I
coming.
mean, I can from one man's perspective. It's really easy.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
And being a firefighter too, like it's totally male dominated field. So it's not like I wasn't used to that environment.
Right. Yeah, because you're camping together, you're putting out fires, and you're all
Yeah.
working together in the same.
I'd meet little things here and there with that kind of stuff going on, being told I was inferior, being made to feel inferior, like I couldn't run in a tank top and shorts because it might distract the boys kind of deal, but they're all running shirtless and those kinds of things. But that was my first real, I would say, like aha moment.
Have you ever encountered that, Kate? In any profession or field that you've been in?
Nope.
I've encountered it twice.
I was raised as like the other boy, me and my brother. If there was
Okay.
something heavy to do, it was just me and my brother did it. And I just took on the attitude. So I don't know. No one has ever said, you can't do this.
Okay. When I worked, I won't name the corporation. It's one of the largest corporations in the entire world. I won't say the name of the corporation again. But I remember being I worked connected to the factory in HR. And I remember I wore back in the 90s, remember those tank tops that were real tight, but they were ribbed tank tops with a turtleneck. And I have relatively a larger chest. And I remember going out to the factory and another woman who worked in HR handed me, in the blazing heat of summer, a sweater to wear. And I remember thinking, why do I have to put a sweater on out into the hot factory when we're already at 90 degrees outside? Reason being is because I was a distraction to the line workers. And I thought to myself, I didn't wrap my head around it at that time. I guess I was stunned, but didn't realize that because I thought, we should be past this at this point.
God forbid I have boobs.
God forbid I have
but those
boobs.
things bother me because it
Yeah.
ends up that you're the problem and not the men can't control their brains.
Exactly.
I'm like, come on, why do we have to keep treating them like they're teenagers? They're men.
Yeah.
And luckily to be on the flip side of it, luckily there was a woman that listened into that conversation and heard what had happened and reported it to the Office of Ethics and Compliance. So within 2 days, I was moved from one building to actually the head corporation. And I didn't know why. I thought I was in trouble, but really what it was an anonymous complaint that I had been sexually discriminated against, which was really fascinating. But anyway, we moved on from that. It does happen. And I thought at this point now we should be, moving forward.
Even in dispatch. So there was a time in dispatch, like I would dress up, like I would wear dresses and heels. I actually got told by male supervisors that if you didn't dress so fancy, people would take you more seriously.
What?
Wow. I can't express myself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Like, do you want me to jeans and t-shirt like everybody else? That's not me. Like, I'm totally competent. Like, I was running like the dispatch center as an assistant center manager at the time, but dress down a little bit so you're taken more seriously.
I can't even wrap my head on.
I just upped it a notch. I was like, okay, let's stiletto as it is.
In very tight skirts, short.
They hadn't watched Aaron Brockovich yet, had they?
True. That is so true. This is fast. We can go in different tangents and roads go down some different roads. Okay. So what drew you to, what about that service that you like, the firefighting world? What intrigues you by that?
So my dad was a wildland firefighter.
Okay.
Through the prison system, he would take out the prison crews in Arizona. And so he was like managing and also the crew boss for the firefighting inmate crews. And so that's where I learned about firefighting. My brother got into it when he was old enough, or I guess when he, I don't know, his 20s went into it. And so I did as soon as I turned 18, because you have to be 18 to do it.
Okay.
So I'd been working for the Forest Service since I was 17, but as soon as I hit 18, I went into fighting fire. And it is such a camaraderie builder. Like you're in these intense situations with people and you just get close and you're out there. It's very adrenaline junkie style things. You're sleeping on the ground. Like you're seeing places you probably wouldn't see otherwise. You're getting brought in helicopters. Just really cool stuff.
It's just like we see in a movie. That's amazing.
And then like when I went into dispatch, my aspect changed in that I was now they're helping the guys on the ground. Like I would call them my little duckies. Like I got to make sure my little duckies come home at night and whatever they need, you try and get it to them. If it's a bad situation, you're trying to be the calm one to talk to. I've had bad situations with smoke jumpers getting hurt.
Yeah, that's risky.
That helpless feeling on my end, like I can only imagine how they felt. And so trying to be that calming aspect and like helping them through these situations.
Today's episode of the IWD406 Podcast is sponsored by Electric. Hey, this is Kate. Electric is my stage name when I'm a singer-songwriter. Okay, now that we've established this, we can move on. I've created a songwriting challenge for you to write your first song or your next one. To find out more about the Songs Inside You challenge, visit songsinsideyou.com today. We need lots of music in the world. Please write more songs.
So you're talking to the smoke jumpers, right? You're talking to them directly while they're going through fighting and dumping the water on the fire.
So the jumpers are the ones that jump out of planes with the parachutes.
Oh, they jump out. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I wanted to understand that. Okay, go ahead.
So I'm talking to them. I'm talking to all fire guys on the ground. Usually there's somebody in charge. And so if it's a big fire, I'm talking to maybe one person in charge. If it's a smaller fire, I might be talking to a bunch of engine guys or something running around.
So they're jumping out of the plane because
it's so remote.
Yes.
It's so remote and there's nowhere for the plane to land.
Nope.
And so they're jumping out with all of their survival gear, knowing they'll probably have to camp there, stay there. And then, so then the planes, what are they called? The ones that come in and actually dump. And it's not water. What is it?
So there's the air tankers. So they drop the red stuff, which is retardant. It's basically like, I don't know, fertilizer, basically.
Yeah.
Those are the air tankers, but then you also have like the scoopers, which drop water. They land on, or they scoop it off the lakes.
They go low, right? Or no, they pull it from the lake.
And then they drop it.
And then they drop. So I am completely unaware of what goes on. Sorry.
My son's a wildland firefighter as well.
And where's he at?
He is in California right now. He was in Montana probably for the last 4 years.
Okay.
And then he and his girlfriend moved out to California last year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my husband does. So that's been my world. My husband's actually in Arizona right now helping out, and he's what is called an air attack. So he's not a pilot, but he has a plane and a pilot assigned to him that's on contract through the government, and he flies over the fires, like getting an eye on the fire, and he'll tell dispatch what the fire's doing because nobody's usually on scene yet. And then he'll help the fire guys on the ground maybe make their way into it, tell them where it's going, what it's doing. But then once there's aircraft on the fire, he talks to them as well. So he's like talking to everybody. Yeah, I don't know how his brain does it. Like I would.
So then he has to understand that, I don't want to say how the fire works.
Right.
But you probably do have to learn. There is a science behind learning how the fire is going to expand or.
There is.
Yeah. So
and he's done it for 20 plus years. So he has all that.
Are you familiar with all that too? Now that
to a
you've been-
point,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Sometimes he'll say things like, because I didn't do it as long as he did, or he was a hot shot. And so
A hot shot. That's what I was trying.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, a hot shot is what?
it's just an elite crew of like 20 plus guys that are carded like to be a type 1, they're called. So they usually put them first into the worst situations or the more rugged terrain because of their training and their qualifications that those crews hold are a little bit more than, say, a type 2 crew, which is just a lower qualified crew, but still gets on fire lines.
Okay, so a hot shot would they parachute in?
Nope, that's a jumper.
That's a jumper. So a hot shot is in the plane.
Nope, so the smoke jumper's in the plane.
Okay, so a hot shot is, tell me what, on the ground.
Yep.
In the most rugged territories.
Usually they're put into the, worst situations first.
And then, okay, I'm trying to understand. So then you have the plane dumping the water or the retardant, and then the hot shot is doing what on the ground? I'm trying to understand.
So
like gathering the fire?
like herding it around pretty much, herding cats.
Yeah.
So they use the aircraft to help the guys on the ground. Like the air takers and the water doesn't put the fire out.
Okay.
It just helps slow it down a little bit. So like their goal is to usually like once they drop, then the crews, whether it's a hot shot crew, hand crew, engine crew, comes in behind after they drop because they got to clear it to drop because it'll move trees. Like you can get hurt really bad if you're where they drop water or the retardant. And so they'll come in behind it, and that's when they start chinking, digging line, right where that retardant started slowing it down. So the fire's not usually as active once they drop, and they try and bring people in to, help.
So you're digging a line? That's what they do.
To prevent the fire from
Spreading.
The fire will come up to a line, and then it won't, unless there's super winds or something, jump over that line. If you're digging in the dirt and you're taking away anything that the fire might have, food, fuel.
I'm just going to let you know my husband's totally going to critique this and hammer me after this conversation.
This is just what I've learned from my son.
It's fascinating because being from the Midwest, we don't deal with forest fires. If we did, some dumbass had a meth lab and something blew up, and the next thing you know, things are on fire. But we do not deal with forest fires, so I wasn't around it nor understood it until we moved here, and then now my husband's deeply diving into it because of the property we purchased, and we do not want our cabins to burn down. Yeah. So it's fascinating because I'm now starting to learn. I'm like, ooh, I got a firefighter coming on the podcast. I'm going to ask her all sorts of questions.
Defensible space.
Yes. Okay. So digging those lines, that's fascinating. The whole piece to it is really fascinating. And like you said, dopamine. I mean, you're going to adrenaline rushing.
Like even in dispatch, like not even being on the ground anymore. We'd be having fires like in a lightning bus where they're starting all these different fires, like 20 different fires, like going at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's just nonstop action. Like you're trying to send people to certain fires.
How do you come down from that after it's over?
Wine.
Wine or going to explore.
And when I, married previously and I had kids, like it was super hard, because my ex-husband was a electrical lineman.
Oh,
so like we also had that battle of the lines would start fires. So he had to go to work, but I also had to go to work because there was fires. And so we were like, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Who's going to work today? Who's got to
and with the kids being
yeah.
home. My dad was an electrical lineman, and it's one of the most dangerous jobs listed in the world. And so you can get electrocuted, all these mishaps that happen. Sometimes human error, you grab the line, you don't grab another grounder, you can get completely just fried. And it's seen over the years that he's worked in that field. So yes, two very dangerous, high risky jobs. And then you have your little kiddos at home.
Yeah, 3 little boys.
3 little boys. And
sometimes they went to work with me. There was just situations where I was like, all right, I got to take the kid to work today because
they're in their teens now, right?
What's that?
Are they in their teens?
My oldest actually just turned 14 yesterday.
Oh, do they want to do what you guys do?
They talk about being a lineman like their dad, for sure.
Okay. What about firefighting?
No, not so much.
Not so much. Yeah. Interesting. Wow. Holy buckets. I'm just like, you're a badass, Tiffany.
You are.
Seriously. Okay, we're going to transition into shifting into your healing journey. I think that's something that I think is fascinating. And I know you had mentioned that you openly mentioned that you went through a divorce. Mm-hmm. And for women, that is a really for men and women, that's a real difficult, life changer for everyone. Yeah. So walk us through that process. And I want you to share your story of, I call it wanderlust, healing wanderlust. Go for it.
So growing up, like I would go camping with my parents maybe once or twice a year, go fishing. So not like a lot of that kind of thing. But as my marriage started to deteriorate, like I felt myself needing more of that. And it turned into me going with my kids by myself a lot. Okay. Like that's where I started hiking with them, traveling with them, taking them on road trips with my parents' help sometimes and those kinds of things. And so when I did separate, I got this crazy idea. Like I've always wanted to go backpacking. I'm going to do it. I've never been backpacking. I don't have any of the gear to go backpacking. Yeah. But I'm going to start reading about it because I'm a really good researcher at things like that. And so I started reading blogs. I started researching what you needed, what you should have. And then I found this blog, and it was by a solo female backpacker that mentioned she went to Kings Canyon. It was safer type thing. And so I was like, oh, that...
In California.
Yeah. Total makes sense. For my first time, I'm going to drive all the way to California from New Mexico to go backpacking. Yeah, totally makes sense. It's beautiful,
though. Kings Canyon. If you're going to go backpacking by yourself,
well, and
go to Kings Canyon.
There was lakes, there was water, all this stuff. So that's where it started. I planned this big old trip. I cried every night in my tent. Like I was just like, am I doing the right thing?
What drew you?
Little soul-searching trip too.
Was it like, I just need, and you were going to go by yourself, solo. So you're going by yourself, and you're like, this is what I need. Yeah. What about that is what drew you to do it?
I don't know. I think it was just the fact that I hadn't been able to do it yet. And now I had this space and this time to do it. Yeah. And it would be really great to be by myself, no cell phones for distraction, nobody with me. Like took a journal, and my whole intent, I think, was to figure shit out. Is this what I really want? Do I really want a divorce? Should I go back to him because that's what society tells me I should do? And the stigma of leaving your husband and having children and staying because of the children. And so I went and I had this horrible experience, I like to call it, that was the best experience ever because I was so miserable. Yeah. Like I was alone for the first time in ever. Didn't have kids around, didn't have my phone to distract me. Nobody was with me. Nothing. Like I journaled and I cried and I made lists of why I shouldn't, pros and cons. And so I ended up having too heavy of a backpack. Like it was ridiculous. So it's like the movie Wild with Reese Witherspoon. I called it The Monster after I saw that movie. Yeah. Like carried so much food, so much extra clothing because I've heard since then, like you pack for your fears. Well, my fear was obviously I was going to starve to death and I was going to freeze to death.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Did you have any, being in the mindset that you were in, but also the fact that you had a risky job that you were involved in, did you have any reservations? Obviously, you did.
I thought I was going to die every night. I was like, I'm going to die out here. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a spot device or like an emergency beacon at that point. So I went without that. I know. Looking back now, I'm like, okay, there was better ways to do this.
Right.
Everybody knew my map and my trail. Like they know where I was at, when I was supposed to come out. Like I did those precautions.
Did you do a certain trail system?
Yeah, it was a certain trail system. It was called the Rays Lake Loop, I think is what it was called, like around some lakes and like up over this like 13,000-foot pass. Oh yeah, it was insane. I was like, that was like for my first one, that was not a good
And by yourself. Yeah. Did you see anybody and were they like watching you going, where is this girl going?
2 people. One person on my first day hiking in, and then on my last day hiking out, I saw another woman who was solo, but she was just day hiking and she's, honey, are you okay? I'm like, I don't know. I've lost my chapstick, and that's all I want right now is chapstick.
That's so good. That's good.
But that's what really started it. And after that, I was just, I did overdo it. Like I just felt I was making up for lost time. 10 years during this marriage, I didn't do anything like that outdoorsy type stuff. Mm-hmm. Like we'd go camping maybe once a year, but it was with his friends. Yeah. And so every week that I did not have my boys, every weekend I did not have my boys, I was somewhere doing something. Whether it was backpacking or just traveling, or for my birthday, I started a tradition where I would do something new, go someplace new, have a new experience for my birthday.
I love that.
And so one year I did a road trip and I drove to northern Arizona and I did a hot air balloon over Sedona, did Antelope Canyon, did Humphreys Peak, which is the highest point in Arizona, and in a weekend's span. And
Nice.
so that's
this is post separation.
Separation,
It's
yeah.
like you said, I am going to do
I have
something.
time, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
fill
going to do
my
all
bucket.
the things I wanted to do.
That's
I want to
awesome.
back up a little bit and ask you on a personal note. Did you have a sense of feeling trapped? Because in your marriage, did you feel trapped? Because I feel like this
yeah.
idea of freedom, what's coming to my head is freedom. I want to break free of this. I want to break free of how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling. Was there a sense of feeling trapped? Because a lot of women experience that.
I don't know if it was necessarily feeling trapped. I think it was the scared to leave.
Scared to leave.
Because of
Okay.
stigma. I feel like we just grew apart. Like I had all these things I wanted to do, more outdoorsy, start doing these things, and it wasn't happening. And there was a point where 3 or 4 years before I ended up, asking for the separation, that I said, okay, there's something really wrong here. We need to go to counseling. And it was like, no, we're fine. We're fine. It's fine. And then when I did ask for the separation, then it was like, oh, we should go to counseling. But by that time I was already mentally
ready.
done.
Checked out.
I had already checked out. But I did, because I didn't want to regret it later. So we did go to counseling. We really tried to make it work. I would say him more than me at that point, but I didn't want to have any regrets. So yeah, so I wouldn't say necessarily trapped. I think I was scared to leave. Yeah.
I think it's a very common thing that I've seen with people, friends that they've spent a couple years of, gosh, something's off.
Yeah.
And then you start saying, okay, maybe we do need an additional person to come in and mediate or have different eyes on our situation. And then oftentimes what I've also seen is that there's a lot of pushback. Oh no, we don't need that. We'll figure it out. We don't know how to fucking communicate. So that's one of the bigger problems, is that we don't know how to talk to one another. And then it just keeps going and going in that direction where resentment builds in.
Yeah.
And then you finally get to a point where now you're desperate because you're grasping at straws trying to save whatever's left, right? And so that feels very common. Did you at the time think it wasn't?
Oh yeah. I didn't talk about it with anybody because
Yeah.
I was so scared of what people would think about me.
Right, right.
Leaving. And then I did.
Really, that's a lot of pressure in your head then.
And
There's
I
a lot of
did
pressure.
lose a lot of friends, honestly. When, I separated, because everybody thought I was going through a midlife crisis. How can she leave her
and then,
children?
And then all of a sudden you go and leave it for Kings Canyon by yourself.
oh yeah, total
On a
midlife.
solo back, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on
Yeah,
with
pretty
Tiffany?
much.
No, just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, I got that a lot. Are
Yeah.
you okay? But that's
Yeah.
a lot of that when I was.
But you can say, I'm not okay.
Yeah, and
I need to go figure this shit out on my own and go do a solo backpack trip. It's freaking K. As long as you take a GPS.
next time,
or
that's always
a beacon.
my horror story when I
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
people
yeah.
starting out.
Yeah.
Just don't go without something.
Yeah. So through that experience, what were some of the things that that came to you? What were some of the big light bulbs that came to you during that experience?
I was strong enough that I could be on my own and I could make it.
Yeah.
That I was capable. And I don't think I had felt that way in a very long time.
So you got out of the trailhead and you're like, it's over. I'm doing, you pretty much, you were like, I got to move on.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that going through that too, you're going through physical, emotional, body stuff. And then once you get, hiking can be fun, but it can also be the times you're like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Why can't this
I'm
magical
cold.
thing
Yeah.
come down and transport me off right now? But that also makes you stronger because at the end of the day, when you're sleeping, you're like, damn, I did that.
Right. I could.
Yeah. My husband drags me on these long ass hikes and I'm like, I hate it. I'm whining the whole time. Where's my granola bars? My blood sugar's low. When are we going to get there? And then by the time you get there, you're like, oh my God, I did that hike. And then you're Googling about it. You're showing pictures on Instagram.
Well, my thing here was you get into this halfway hike
Yeah.
or halfway backpacking trip. And I'm like, shit, I can't stop now unless somebody comes rescue me, and I'm not going to let that happen.
There's nothing you can do.
There's nothing else to do, Tiffany. You just got to get out. Just
Wow.
get out.
Yes. Okay. So from there, you did the backpacking, and then you obviously were back in Arizona, and then your story in the beginning, you met your future husband.
So I was still in New Mexico. So I stayed in New Mexico. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So he slid into my DMs, like I said, and ended up moving to New Mexico, and
Okay.
just such an amazing support of me and what I do. And for the first time felt like he's always psyching me up. Like, no, you're amazing. Like when I was having trouble writing my bio for this thing, I'm like, well, I'm not that cool. I don't know what to say. He's like, you are though. He's like, you're so amazing. And so just a huge supporter, and go off with your girls and have your little adventures. If you need me to pick you up at the trailhead with beer and pizza, just let me know, which he's done before.
Oh my gosh. He's an amazing husband. That's awesome.
Can you start talking about the Women Who Outside and how you ended up joining with that too?
So when I was in New Mexico, my best friend Chris, who I met on a hike she was leading, she was an ambassador for Women Who Explore New Mexico. And so she asked me after we started hanging out for a while, can you help me with this backpacking trip? I have this big group I'm taking, like 8 girls. Some of them have never gone before, just an easy one-nighter. Can you help me like facilitate that with them? I was like, yeah, I'll go. So after doing that with her and everything, she's like, you should really be an ambassador too. You're great at this. And so I was like, I don't know. And then I did, of course, I signed up. So yeah, so I was an ambassador in New Mexico for about a year before I moved here and hosted events.
Can you just explain what an ambassador is and what they do for that? Okay.
So basically just a volunteer. So I am volunteering my time for this Women Who Explore organization. And it's a company owned by 2 women. And each state pretty much has a chapter or 2. So like New Mexico has New Mexico Women Who Explore, Montana has Women Who Explore Montana, California has one too, like it's all over. Oh, wow. And so as ambassadors, we're just volunteers that host events. Basically what we want to do.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah, so you can choose the adventure. Okay, gotcha.
Like I've done rock climbing, I've done painting classes.
She's even done waterfall rappelling.
The frozen waterfalls here.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I told my husband about that. She's like, oh my God.
Ice climbing. Yeah.
That's insanity.
Snowmobiling. Yeah.
I've been on a snowmobiling adventure. Super fun.
So yeah, just volunteer and doing whatever events you want to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's neat.
And it was my way to meet women too. And that was the big push in New Mexico for me to do it. Cause like after my divorce, I lost my friend circle. Like it really shrunk because of that. And I did a lot of things solo for a very long time, just because I felt I needed that. But also making friends as an adult is super hard, and like scheduling and those kinds of things. So I did a lot of stuff solo. And then I met my friend Chris, and I got to this point where I was like, it'd be a lot more fun with other people to do these things. And so I started doing these events just to meet women and to also help women meet other women and to also just do some cool shit.
Yeah, but I also think too, probably subconsciously we're trying to rebuild that trust after losing all that friend group.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to be around people that are empowering, inspiring, want to go do fun things, have a shared experience. So kudos to you for doing that and then bringing it here to Montana.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't ambassadors before, right?
There was a group here. It just wasn't very active. Okay. So when I moved here, I'd ask, can I just move and be an ambassador in Montana? They're like, absolutely. So there was a few ambassadors. It just wasn't very active. I think we had 1,200 members in the Facebook group when I moved here. Yeah.
Oh, you built it up to
It's
how many?
huge. 11,000.
It's like crazy amount of people.
So I came here and I just hosted a simple meet and greet at Sacred Waters, actually, here in Kalispell. And I posted about it in the Facebook group. Hey, thanks for everybody who came. And then it like instantly, can you come to Billings and host a meet and greet? And I'm like, absolutely not. But do you want to be an ambassador?
Oh, smart.
So like everybody would be like, oh man, I wish we had that here. And I'm like, do you want to be an ambassador?
Yeah.
And so now we have 9 ambassadors across the state.
Wow, that's huge.
And
That's awesome.
events going almost every week. We have 2 or 3 going, just super active. And
Wow.
And this is on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
That's how people can connect with
is.
Women Who Explore Montana through Facebook. What have you seen? What are some of the things that comes up for women that are like newbies into the group? What have you seen as far as trepidations, or they're scared, they're worried, or they've got reservations? What are some of the common things that you've seen?
Women usually will creep on the Facebook page for a long time before they go to their first event. Because I think there's that fear of joining a new group of people.
Yeah.
And that fear of being judged, for one thing.
For sure.
And that's why I like to do a lot of meet and greets, because you're meeting these people in a very low stressful environment. They can come, they can leave if they want. They're not like 6 miles in a trailhead with people they don't know.
Right,
They're not meeting random people in the woods.
So meet and greet, just like, hey, this is what I do and this is what it's about if you want to get interested.
Yeah, and we usually go around the room and I have women like introduce themselves. And I always say, what are you here for? What do you want to do? And what are you looking for an adventure partner to do with? Because a lot of the people that come there to these groups, I would say, are new to Montana.
Yeah.
Looking to make friends, looking to connect. And so, I love to hike, and I'm looking for somebody that can maybe hike during the week, because I work on weekends, or vice versa, or I'm retired, I can hike whenever. And so just like having those people say that, what they like to do, and making those connections then they have somebody to do something with.
I love that
Nice.
because I've been to your not your meet and greet, but I've been in the part of your Women Who Explore for writing the Going the Sun Road. There was such an age difference, and everybody was there for something. Just the one gal that spoke about how they have another group that they real low key, they're in their 60s, and but she was joining to be a part of this group. I think it's great. I love the variety, and I love asking for the intention, because everybody has a different intention coming into your adventures. And I think it's wonderful. I mean, you're doing it's amazing. And it is hard moving to Montana and struggling to connect with people here. I'm going to be completely honest. I know you have.
You always are.
I am. I'm always but I feel like that was part of the reason why I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm having a difficult time connecting with new people.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm a firefly connecting to the people that are from out of state. But then I find like the people that are from Montana so fascinating. I'm like, I want to be your friend. But I think it's a great organization because that offers those people, those newbies to Montana, to be able to connect with new women. It's wonderful. I love it. I want to hear about what Dirtbag Gypsies. What is
me
that?
too.
What is that?
What is that?
So it's another group. So it's mostly out of Arizona. My friend Jason is the one who started it.
Okay.
And so basically it's just a community of people that like to be outside and to do things together. And it's definitely more low key, I would say, than Women Who Explore, but it's for men, women, children. It's for anybody.
Yeah.
And so my friend Chris also is an ambassador for them.
It's an actual organization. Is it only for? Is it a state?
It's a Facebook group, and they just have one.
Just one.
Like I said, it's a little bit more low key in they just have one Facebook group,
Okay.
Dirtbag Gypsies, and most of their stuff that they host and do is in Arizona.
It is in Arizona, not up in Montana.
No, not yet. So I'm hoping, like I've done like a the witches paddleboard that I did was like for Dirtbag Gypsies in October last year.
Okay.
So I want to start doing a little bit more for them because then my husband can come.
Yeah, because it's men and women.
yeah.
It's men and women.
Gotcha.
And so
Fun.
I know. So it is, again, what I want to make it. If I want to host a hike that is all women with them, I can.
Yeah.
But I can also do prom on the mountain and the men can come instead of like just the women.
I love her prom dress ups. All of your dressing
I like to
up
dress
is
up.
so much fun. Seeing her reels with the skiing with her friend. It's amazing. That's awesome. I love that. I had another question for you. I'm drawing a blank. But what was it?
Did you want to read the quote?
Oh yeah, let's go into that one. Okay. So sorry.
Yeah.
I wanted to go backwards into what your connection with nature, because obviously you are really connected with nature. And I love your quote. I'm going to go ahead and read it. It says, nature became a way for her, Tiffany, to heal and to feel strong and capable. She wants to empower women and share the restorative power of being outside and overcoming challenges in the mountain. So let's dive into what about nature is so healing.
I think it's the sense that you can feel so small in a space sometimes, but yet feel so strong. Like we talked about, like this big hard hike, or even not even a big hard hike, but just a hike. And I just did that.
Yeah.
And just being in nature and being able to shut down that stress, that anxiety, those fears, and just have that Zen moment to maybe bring yourself back to why are you really there and what are you looking for? And I don't know, to me, it's always helped me answer the hard questions that I have going on in my life at the time.
Self-reflection.
Yeah.
You talk about that with your nature walks, Kate.
I do. Because that's my meditative time. I go for a
it
walk
truly
every
is.
day. And it also gives me time to appreciate nature and watch it change and just observe and listen to the birds and enjoy myself being out there. Yeah.
Everything about nature. If you work a stressful job, you have a high stressor position, and then for me, I throw a lot into my work to the point where I am just here. This is where I'm at. I'm in my office. I'm hyper focused. And if I pull myself away, I can feel that release of stress. It's almost like some sort of oxytocin or serotonin that the trees and the sounds and everything brings to me. It's wonderful. And I'm glad that we have where we're living. This place is amazing. There's so many amazing things that we can do. What has been your favorite adventure thus so far in Montana?
So I did the Chinese wall backpacking trip last summer.
Okay, explain what that is.
So it's a super long granite wall, 14 miles long in the Bob Marshall Wilderness.
Okay.
And so I went on a backpacking trip last year and started with 5. Two of them ended up not doing the whole loop, but me and 2 other girls did like this whole 75-mile loop in the Bob.
Did you know the girl? Did you know the women very well?
Maybe, no.
You got to know them.
I got to know them really well. So like I knew one of them, but the other one I didn't. And I didn't know, four of the 5 people on that trip.
Wow.
Now I'm getting wild, would be nice to be with a group too, because I like to do things solo. But also just to be like, I don't have to be talk, because people like to talk sometimes, and I just like quiet when I'm out there. But you don't have to be hiking next to each other. And this like a little light bulb moment. Like, what? You could just do your own pace, do your own thing, and just, cool, I'll meet you up there. Boom. Okay, we're all here. Everybody's alive. Cool. Boom. See you later. Meet you up there.
I think you definitely too find like after hiking with somebody for a while, like you're a hiker match. I feel like, whether it's the pace or like you said, somebody that really like understands when maybe there should be silence on a trip, like, embrace that and they don't feel they need to be talking the whole entire time. So I feel there are certain people that you just mesh with as a hiker. And that's my friend Chris back home. And I'm mentioning her a lot because she's like my soulmate venture buddy. She's actually coming here in August to visit. And I'm so excited.
Yay.
I don't know how to narrow down what I want to show her when she's here.
Yes. Has she been here before?
No.
Oh, that's exciting.
wow.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so I feel like, like you said, like you can just slow it down, I'm usually the last person in line. I'm the sweeper, as I call it, when I lead trips. And that gives me time in the back just to be on my own.
That's so interesting. A hiker partner? Is that what hiker match?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. I've never hiked with other women. I've only hiked with my family. And let me just tell you, the levels of stress. By the time it's all said and done at the end, I'm like, I want to go home. I don't want to do this anymore. So I think it would be a totally different experience to hike with a bunch of women. And and I think for me, I'd have to have somebody a little bit slower pace. As you can tell, I've been on your trips and I'm always at the back end. And I'm in my own little world. You're doing my own little thing. Yeah. Do you find when you have these groups, do you see that women struggle with that, or they're like trying to figure it out, or?
So I'm a fast hiker, and I used to just put my head down, and it was all about, I have to get there.
You have to get to the peak.
Yeah. And then my first group that I joined, and it was a different group in Arizona on a hike. It was my first time hiking with a bunch of women.
Yeah.
And they were so slow. And I'm like, we just got to get there. Like, what are they doing? And then like halfway through the hike, I'm like, oh, but this is nice.
Yeah. Yes.
Taking pictures, like just having conversation. And after that, it was like the light bulb moment.
Yeah.
Man, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey, right?
Because you'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And enjoying it and taking the time and stopping and taking it all in. And
Yeah. Is your husband your hike? Do you feel like you've made a hiking companion with your husband?
So him being a hotshot for 20 years, he doesn't really enjoy the type 2, which is like hard fun that I do on hikes. You go with the girls. It's fine.
Interesting.
Or even backpacking. I've slept on the ground for 20 years. I don't really want to do that, but I will. If you need me or want me to go with you, I will. But if you want to go with the girls, I'll pick you up at the trailhead.
Wow. My husband is all about getting to the peak as quickly as we possibly can. And I always equate it to, he's the big, like the lab with the big stretching out of
long
legs. And then I'm the little Yorkie trying to catch up, and I'm completely worn out halfway through. And all I want to do is pick flowers along the way and stuff them in my hair and take pictures of all the trees moving and the birds. And it's so funny because in life, I feel like I met my match. But when it comes to those kind of things, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I don't have any desire to
remember
get
me back here.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, you go ahead. Hopefully I don't get eaten by a bear while you're with the gun and the bear spray in your back pocket. So yeah, that's fascinating. I'm gonna have to look more into the whole hiking companion and how you find those people.
You just go.
You got to test them.
You
Like,
just
gotta test them.
Go and just figure it out.
Yeah, maybe I need to be amongst the 60-year-olds.
There you go.
On the groups, like they call it no drop. Like a lot of these groups,
Right.
that's what they call it. And I never really officially
What's
use
that
that
mean?
word. Nobody's left behind. You're always like on the bike ride, even
Yes,
though
or the snowmobile.
I was in the very back trying to keep up with all the e-bikes, dying. I rode a regular bike.
Yeah. Yes.
I did that once too.
And they waited for me, and I'll catch you at the next stop, like kind of deal. But and I feel like when you're hiking in these groups, like everybody's talking and everybody's getting to know each other. Because honestly, most of these events that I host, a lot of people, it's their first time coming or their first time meeting this person, and everybody's new. And so they're talking and they're having a good time. And it's just like this natural flow of just easy going. Like if it's a hard hike, I will list it in my event. This is a really hard hike. It's going to be 12 miles. It's this much. So there are those that aren't as easy as others, but the people that show up, like they just gravitate towards each other. I don't know. It's just always such this.
Is there anything that you won't do?
Here, I haven't backpacked with a group yet because I am deathly afraid of bears.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Oh. You're out in the wild in Montana all the time doing these adventures. You're afraid of bears?
To me, it's like leading a group right now because I'm still so new to Montana.
Okay.
Into places that I've never been.
Oh, I can
won't
see
do
that.
it. I want to go backpack into this place
and test it out.
Do it myself, get comfortable being there, and then that I don't have to worry about that aspect. I just have to worry about the bears.
Do you do things before do you actually go do the adventure before you plan the adventure with the group?
Sometimes, not always.
Okay.
When I did introduction to winter backpacking, there was a girl that was with me that had been to where we ended up going and backpacking. So she was like the one that had done it. So she was my co-lead and she helped me where we were going and she knew about the spot and everything.
Are you guys snowshoeing in?
We snowshoed in and tramped down the snow and set up our tents in the snow. And it was
so awesome. Cool. Okay, so here's what I think you should do. And I know you are getting into this. To get over your bear fear, you need to go hunt bears. What? You need to be a part of those adventures, those hunting adventures. I know you.
I would go with somebody hunting bears.
Hold on, but I know
shooting for a bear, missing, and
see that's my thing. Or you wound them and piss them off.
After you
don't piss them off, just shoot them.
Yeah, but then you're like, guarantee you better have a good shot.
No, that's true. That's true. But if you're around them, then you'll see how they behave. You have some understanding. But didn't you do some photography for hunters?
No, that's a dream of mine.
That's a dream.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that because you are a fantastic photographer.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your photography.
It's something like I've been dreaming of doing. And actually this year, I actually got the business license. Like my goal is to list stuff on my prints for sale finally because I have 30,000 pictures on my computer. Yeah. They're just sitting there. They're just sitting there.
You have pictures of outdoor, the stars.
Yeah, I love astrophotography.
Oh my gosh, they're stunning. Where are they at? Are they on your Instagram page?
Some of them are, yeah, for sure. But I don't. That's the other thing. I am so judgmental of myself and that there's so much better out there. I get nervous posting my pictures. I know it's so hard though.
Comparison is a killer.
Don't do
that. Just go through them all and be like, oh, I really like this one, and then just be like,
it's art. Yes, it's all art too.
Yes,
yeah.
And which is perception.
And I always
so as long as you have your stamp of approval, it should be all good.
And I always like the backstory behind how they got that shot.
Yeah,
I've looked at all the shots from the solar flare, and I'm like, how the fuck did they do that?
It's just camera because first night
mine looked like crap.
I was lying down on my lawn looking in the sky, and then my sister posted all these things. So I stayed up till 12:30 at night just waiting to see something, and she was like, "It's a camera that sees it, not you."
Yeah. Yes.
And so the next night I laid down on the ground, and then I started taking photos, and it was weird that you could see the difference,
the lens, picks up. But actually, so Friday night I was up till 2:30 in the morning taking pictures, and that was the first time I've actually seen color in the sky naked eye here, bright. So the reds was really bright to the naked eye.
Yes.
So the pictures are quite insane, and they look like they're fake. They look like you edited them because they're so bright, and it's like, oh, that really happened.
Yeah. What I love is the fact that you've done pictures in remote places, and I always am like, how did they get there? And my thinking is what's behind the camera, the eye, and what was the experience to get to that place? And how did you know to take a picture of the star hitting the angle of the mountain at a certain time? And
there's apps for that.
I know, but still, you have to think about that kind of stuff.
It's planning.
And the production piece on the back end. I don't think about that. I just point and freaking shoot. And maybe that's why my pictures are terrible.
Right? Yeah. You just I like what I see, and I'll take a picture, and I can.
Yeah.
This is what I see.
It's perception.
Yeah. Okay, let's go into your photography piece. So are you then going to do, what's the plans with that?
So rough plans is list my prints. Someday I would like to have some at art festivals to sell. My big dream, and it's one of your guys' questions, so we're going to jump ahead here, is if I wouldn't fail, what would I do? And I would quit my stable government job and I would be a photographer, travel photography, but also I would really love to do adventure photography.
Yes.
I would like to go with hunters and take their pictures on their big hunts, or
that's a great idea. I don't know if people are doing that.
I don't know. Does anybody want to hire me?
Yes,
because I can hike.
Tune in.
I can carry my own gear.
Stone Glacier.
I know. Big adventures. Somebody wants to go on this big adventure and capture the moment.
Yeah,
I would be down.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times that you hear these hunter stories, my husband comes back and, you should have seen this big elk. And I'm like, yeah, no, I can't. I can picture a big elk, but I can't really see you crouching down. Like, he's explaining the whole story, but I'm like, where are the pictures?
I think you're tapping into a good market
You're
there,
tapping
Tiffany.
into a market.
Yeah.
And men would love for you, this beautiful person, to come out and take pictures of them out in the wild shooting things, their manliness. So I think it's wonderful. I definitely think you're tapping into a hidden market.
It's a dream. And then also like magazine publications. And like I took some pictures of a friend of mine in New Mexico one time fly fishing. And when he's, man, these would be awesome in a fly fishing magazine. And I was like, yeah, they would. But how? You just email them.
Just, submit.
And I just haven't because then the self-doubt. But
Just, you know
Do
what?
it.
Because if you don't do it, you're at the same place. You still have nothing happening.
what are they going to do? Say
So
no or
that's
just
right.
not respond?
That's
and
right.
You're out an email.
So
I
then
know. I just need to do it.
yeah.
And now that I have the
And
business
then once
license,
you do
I'm kind
one,
of,
it's easier to do the next. And the first one's the hardest. Like you write it up and then you just hit send and then you'll be like, and then, okay, I can do the next one.
Yeah.
You know?
A couple of my pictures were in the last issue for the Bob Marshall Wilderness Foundation magazine. And I was like, oh, that was so
yes.
sweet. And it was just because it was a
Yes.
trip I had taken with
Yeah.
them. And I was like, that was my first published
Oh, that's
pictures.
awesome.
So I want to jump into what are the future plans for Women Who Explore and other projects that you're working on.
Okay. So tomorrow I actually have 2 hikes that I'm hosting. One is I signed up to be a legacy partner with the Whitefish Trails system. And so we have a trail, it's the Holbrook Overlook Trail that we have adopted, Women Who Explore and we will start cleaning it up starting tomorrow. Is our first cleanup day, and it's a 3-year commitment. So twice a year we will maintain that trail. Yeah, it's mine. Like I have this group that I've grown. What can I do with it to give back now?
Yes.
Like we use these trails all the time, so let's maintain them. Let's help preserve this for everybody to use.
Nice. I love that.
And then, so that's tomorrow afternoon. And then tomorrow evening, I have a hike on Lion Mountain, and it's with a group called We Hike to Heal. And so their main thing is women in the outdoors and how empowering and healing the outdoors can be. So we're going to do a little slow hike with journals, and I'll have some prompts for them to sit and listen. What's around them? What do they feel? What are their thoughts intrusive at that moment? Like what's egging at them and they can't forget or push out of their mind? What's stopping them from enjoying the moment maybe, or maybe not? Maybe what's they're enjoying at that time. So just little prompts. And then when we get to the summit, we all go around and share a few things and just
that's
enjoy
beautiful.
Nice.
enjoy the hike as long as it doesn't rain.
Yes, true. Yes.
The rain is coming, I think.
That's amazing. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that, Tiffany. So then you also have riding the goat. Then we ride our bikes Saturday with the women of IWD406. It's going to be so much fun. We did it a few weeks back and we got pelted. And I was like, I'm not hanging back here with Tiffany. I'm getting the fuck out of here. And I just kicked it into 2 or 3. And poor you, I look back and you're like, you're just struggling to get to the end. You finally made it. We're all like, but we were just, it was fun though. I really enjoyed myself. And I loved watching one of our fellow core network women. It was her first time doing it. And she at the end loved it so much that she wants to come back and do it again this weekend. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm so thankful that you're willing to collab with us.
Heck yeah.
And I'm looking forward to future collabs.
I know.
Ski for IWD. Just
Yeah,
going to
good
throw that
for
out there. Yeah. Okay. And then now you have those things. Is there anything else in the future that people can sign up for?
Most of my events fill up pretty quick. I don't really have anything open right now, and I'm not going to do a lot of events after our Going the Sun Road because I am going to be going down to New Mexico for 3 weeks to see my kids. They remain in New Mexico with their dad. Yeah. So I'll go down and see them for about 3 weeks, taking a break from events. And then when I come back, my next one, but it's already full. Well, actually, I might have a spot opened on it. I had a cancellation. I haven't checked if it's filled or not. I'm partnering with the Bob Marshall Wilderness Foundation and a partnership trip. So we will be clearing a trail in the wilderness, and it's about a 4-day event where we're going to camp at the trailhead. It's not a backpack in one, but we're going to camp at the trailhead and clear this trail like as far as we can get. I think it's like a 6-8 mile trail.
Wow.
And since it's in the wilderness, like it's no chainsaws, it's all crosscut saws. Everything's done by hand.
What?
Yeah.
That's intense.
So I'm
That's
pretty
hard
excited.
work.
It is.
That's wonderful. Gosh, I love this. I love this. All right, we're going to get into our last 3 questions, one of which you've already answered. But the first one, do you want to ask it, Kate?
Sure. What is the favorite thing about yourself? Your favorite thing about yourself?
Again, when I looked at these questions when you sent it to me, I'm like, I don't know. But then I started thinking about, I think the one thing that my mom always taught me growing up is just figure shit out. You can do it. It doesn't matter if you don't know what you're doing or if you're scared or you've never done it before. And so I think that's always how I've approached life is like, I don't know how to re-stucco a house, but I'm going to Google it and I'm going to do it. Like, just like you just do what you need to do to make things happen. And so I've always had that tenacity, I feel, to just like power through. She used to call me a little chihuahua growing up because I was just like, I was like, and just doing everything and just wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
love
that's,
that.
that I don't quit.
And I'm
Good.
going to,
like
I'm
that.
going to throw a left question at you. Okay, you already asked the question if you were going to do something that you knew you wouldn't fail.
Yeah.
What would you do? What would be something that you would do if you knew you were going to fail, regardless?
Not jump out of a plane.
That's true. Don't do that.
Oh, man, I don't know.
Yeah, sky's the limit. You're going to fail at it.
Yeah, so
what would
just
you do, Kate?
Do it anyway.
If I knew I was going to fail,
You knew you were going to fail. You're like, fuck it, I'm going to do it.
I'm going to start knitting.
I don't know.
How can you fail at knitting?
Well, I think that can go for
Jump ahead. It could
anything.
be like,
True. It could be anything.
I think so. And I think I do it all the time. Like, I want to go do this super hard hike to reach this peak, but I might not make it. But that's okay.
That's true.
Like, I might fail and not get to where I wanted to go, but it was still fun.
Yeah.
I always think, but did you die? No. So it's fine.
Failure is relative,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
Like, I do a lot of things that I might fail at, but it's okay. I'm learning as I age. It's okay.
It is okay to
I don't
fail.
think I had a thing with failure for a long time, and I just have a different perspective with it. It's trying that matters. It's not the end result, because you have a result. It can be this way or this way, but how do you want to look at it? Yeah. Do you say this one didn't work, and then therefore you try something else, or you just whatever? It's just a result. It's not. Doesn't define who you are.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
how do you define that it was a success? Like,
Exactly. So that's
Same.
that whole
Yeah.
concept of what is success in general. And it's like talking about the beauty standards. What is the beauty standard? What is the pinnacle beauty standard?
And why do we
What is
have to
fail
go
and what
for
is
these
success?
pinnacled things? Why can't we just say that was the thing I did, and that was the thing I did, and that's something I did too?
If women were writing the Webster Dictionary, it'd be a whole different vibe, right? All right. Okay, we're going to switch subjects and go into the segment, which is our last question, passing the mic. So this is your opportunity to show and support women, your support of women. If you had an opportunity to pass the mic, who would you pass the mic to and why?
so we've already talked about this.
Okay.
So Avery from
yes.
Showdown, Avery Patrick, she is a co-owner of Showdown Ski Area. One of the few mountains in the world that is woman owned. And so she's a co-owner. Nice. And I've been following her now since I got introduced to her on her Instagram, and just an amazing human. And the fact that she's taking that on and took that over from the family and took that leap to do that. That's a big thing.
Huge.
That she's doing.
Yeah.
So
I'm really excited about learning more about her, and I'm excited about our big event. So for people listening, I'm just going to plug it. Why not? We are going to be doing next year on March 8th, a Ski for IWD event in collaboration with Women Who Explore Montana. Tiffany Counts, a very large group. And we're going to be doing a unity ski on several different mountain resorts, at ski resorts throughout Montana, to unify Montana women on International Women's Day. So that's March 8th, and we hope to do a unity ski at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So I think it's going to be badass. We need to create the theme.
I have my ideas already.
I know we're going to bring that back together in July at our meeting and talk about themes and what we should do, because everybody likes to dress up.
Oh, yes.
I freaking want to dress up. Why not? And at that, I think next year I hope to get myself geared up to actually ski. I think I can do that little blip.
Easy going. Nobody's
think
ripping
you
down the mountain.
down
Yes.
Whitefish Mountain. But we do have currently, I think, 5 different mountains that we're going to be working with, mountain resorts, ski resorts. So, and Avery's mountain is one of them, and I cannot wait to learn about her grandfather started that resort and then has passed the torch to her, and now she's running it, I think, with her mom.
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to hear that story, and I'm so glad that you passed the mic to her.
Yeah.
I can't wait for her to come onto the podcast. So thank you so much, Tiffany.
Thank you.
You are you're wonderful, and I'm so glad that you came to ski for IWD406 this year. I was like, who is this badass walking in?
And you
her
have
cute-
this greatest spring festival
the
dress.
best.
It was perfect.
It was so perfect.
I'm like, we're gonna ski and I get to dress up. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm coming.
Yeah. You're like a down girl. You're like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to show out. Damn it. So thank you so much for being on the
Thank you.
podcast today. We
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed it. All right. Thank you.
A special thank you to our podcast guest. You can find all of her links in the description of this episode. If you like what you heard, please hit subscribe. You will be notified of future podcast guests. Follow us on our social media platforms and stay tuned for our next podcast chat with an amazing Montana woman.